Hi guys. So I'm gonna give this a moment to see how give you guys a chance to show up, make sure this thing propagates across the land of Facebook, right? All right. So as that's going on, I'm gonna review what we're gonna shoot at today. Okay, so we've got actually some really good questions through different posts, different threads, different discussions, and I'm like, hey, well, I'll do that in a Q&A. So, hi, Cynthia. And so we're going to run through those questions today. I think these will be highly relevant to you guys since they're common things. Hi again. Common themes in our adventure in thriving beyond codependency and the challenges and opportunities that brings to us. So the first thing I want to shoot at is this idea of keeping ourselves. How do we keep ourselves? Now, ourselves, it's not an ethereal thing like, oh, I know who I am. Here's the concept of me. It's found here in the body. If we don't feel grounded, we don't feel centered in ourselves, then we're outside of that. So we're ungrounded. We're leaned out of our body, out of our awareness of us. We're lost in thought. We're lost in rumination. We're focused on someone else to the point where we've tuned ourselves out. So keeping ourselves starts with getting grounded back into our body. So the moment you realize that you're lost in thought, you're lost in somebody else's feelings or interpreting their experience or absorbing them, you're becoming aware of you. You're coming back to keeping you. And then what you do, and you got to use breath in this process, you breathe. Nice deep breath. You allow it to come in. You allow your attention to settle inward into your body, into an awareness of where you're at. What sensations are in your body? What are you feeling? What are your thoughts about what's happening right now? This practice keeps you in you. It keeps you anchored in your world, and it allows you to know what you think and what you feel about whatever's going on. So start there with a mindfulness practice of being present in your body and just being aware of what you feel. Hi, Michael. These will allow you, that simple process will allow you to start keeping yourself. The other stages of keeping yourself are to recognize and express your thoughts, to understand what your needs are, and then communicate and ask for them. Same with your wants. Enforce boundaries as necessary. Say yes and no when you mean yes and when you mean no, that kind of thing. But keeping yourself starts by being in your body first and not out in fuzzy land. Okay? So, got that number one down. Now, overwhelm. So, Katie had mentioned this. Overwhelm. Overwhelm is a physical sensation of the nervous system reaching or exceeding its capacity to process things. So we start to feel anxiety. We start to feel panicked. We might dissociate a little bit. We might go numb or fuzzy or foggy. So overwhelm is the first symptom that you are beyond your capacity right now. And that capacity can be immediately affected by regulating the overwhelm. We can regulate the overwhelm by breathing. We can, literally take a nice deep breath. What that does is it creates more emotional space in the body so it can just move, helps the body go through its natural closure process with emotions. Because what's one thing we all like to do? We love to analyze our emotions. We love to control those emotions. We're gonna hoard the positive feeling and push away the negative feeling, and that's gonna overwhelm us like nothing else. It's like sticking a roadblock in the freeway, and all the cars just start piling up and you get a lot of pressure, So breathe, okay? Yawn. Yawning triggers the body's natural ability to regulate itself because we only yawn when we're safe. And when we're overwhelmed, we're beginning to feel unsafe. So let's trigger the safety button in our brain and bring ourselves down. What that does is it changes your brain's modes. Okay, it switches you from fight, flight, fear, or fawning, which engages the amygdala, the hippocampus, and hypothalamus. They all get together and they're like, survive. Well, yawning switches that off and it moves the brain's mode into creative perceptual thinking so we can think in a larger context. We can become more aware of what's really happening, more present. We can start to reason with it. We can make better decisions at that point. Okay, so yawning. So breathe and yawn, and then do the regulation technique, which is very simple. You stroke the interior side of your palm or the underside of your forearm while focusing on your breath. And the slower you do it, the more calm you'll become. You'll probably notice, because overwhelm usually brings this along with it, is your thoughts are racing. And if they're racing, become the observer of your thoughts. If you have a real struggle with that, check out the Calm system because it's got a whole process for regulating that. But if you just do this and observe your thoughts, they'll begin to slow down too. It's like, ooh, I'm okay. Because overwhelm means we're reaching or exceeding our capacity and we need to make space. And that's how we can make space. All right. Another thing there with overwhelm is to look at your circumstances, your dynamics. What are you saying yes to that you really don't want to say yes to? What are you saying no to that you really want to say yes to? And what do you need that you're not asking for? Get balance in those areas and you'll have a lot less overwhelm. Okay. So shoot that down. Boom. Now, Karina asked about attachment anxiety. So attachment's very normal in all relationships. It's expected. We're sticky beings. That's how we work. But the thing we've got to understand is that when we come out of an abusive background or a neglected background, we didn't get a chance to develop what is called secure attachment style. Instead, we got to develop one of 3 other attachment styles like anxious, avoidant, or what's called confused, disorganized, or conflicted attachment style. There's a lot of different words for that one. And basically, they do exactly what they sound like. If you're an anxious one, you're going to fret and faw and worry about, do they love me right now? I mean, 3 minutes ago, they told me they love me, but maybe that changed. That's attachment, anxious attachment. We're very unsure about the reliability and dependability of the attachment with that person. And we require some reinforcement and reassurance. And that's normal. Now, if you're dating somebody who is in a secure attachment style, they're going to understand this. If you're dating with somebody who's an avoidant attachment style, they're going to do exactly what that says. They're going to avoid it. And avoiding shows up as running or dismissing or shutting it down. And what does that do to the anxious person? Boom, their anxiety goes up. And then the conflicted one, which I deal with personally, is a combination of anxious and avoidant. I want to connect, but I'm going to avoid it so I don't have to deal with the pain. But I want to connect. So I'm going to avoid it so I don't have to deal with the pain. It's a real hem and haw thing. It can make you feel crazy. But healing these is possible to a degree where they don't control the relationship experience. We can do that through the closure technique that I do. We can do that through EMDR, an upcoming process I'm developing called SAR. And as all healing requires this, guys, all healing requires this. You gotta get experience. Healing is written into us by experience. So just because you go through a healing, you're not done. You got to go out there and test and experience and get that kind of stimulus because it writes us. It writes it in our neurology in a way that just going through a tool does not. So you got to get out there and get experience in order to concretize or write your healing into you. Okay. So back to Karina's question. Your question, it sounds like you're a little worried about the difference. Am I anxious because of the narcissist, or I'm still dealing with the narcissistic person, or am I anxious because I have anxious attachment style? Both. And guess what? It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you get the need met in a way that works for you. And so, and the anxious attachment style is about reassurance. Am I okay? Am I doing good? How are you feeling about this? How do you feel about me? Are you okay with the kind of needs I have and the intervals that they come up at? How is this for you? And healthy, loving people are going to be upfront with us, because sometimes it'll be too much for some people. That's not a bad thing for you or for them. It's a capacity issue. It's not a judgment on the goodness or the badness, the worthiness or unworthiness of that need. So when you're dealing with attachment and anxious attachment, it's all about just asking for reassurance, and it's about reinforcing the actual experience you have with the person. See, narcissistic abuse, especially, and any kind of chronic abuse or chronic neglect, creates a complex experience for us, where our brains are trained into a normal that says it's this way. And that normal, especially if this happens in childhood, is then expanded or applied to the entire existence of everything. Ooh, look, I went jaundice because I'm interfering with the light. See, and now it goes back down. But enjoy green screens. But if our brains are trained to apply it to everything because of the point of time in our mental development that conclusion was created, if that makes sense. So we have to work against that. We have to reprogram it, rather. And the programming comes by referencing and reinforcing that person A, let's say person A is the narcissist. That's an unsafe person. But person B is someone who's really kind and loving to us. They're safe. What this does is it helps the brain move out of all or nothing black and white thinking and move into gray space thinking, or what's called dialectic thinking, where two opposing truths can be true at the same time, which means bad person can exist and good person can exist. Because person B is not person A and person A is not person B. So rather than projecting onto them this blanket assumption about people, instead we are referencing who they are in the moment and who they are to us based on their consistent behavior. Such an important factor there. Consistent, reliable behavior. So you build on that. And then you go like, oh yeah, I'm feeling anxious about my relationship with person B. And then I would recommend doing it this way. I would take a piece of paper and I would literally write down, hey, how many times have they said they love me, shown me they love me? What do they do that shows me they love me? What do they do that shows me they respect me? What do they do that shows me I am safe with them? What do they do that shows me they want me? Because now we're challenging all these little unconscious and subconscious assumptions and projections that are running in the background. And we're going, oh, this person really does care because I can outline it. And this forces your brain to do some cool stuff for you. One, you start to recall those very specific events so they become more pronounced in your awareness. So you can see them more, both in that person and in yourself and in other people, which educates you on who to choose in relationships, guys. Yeah, that's magic right there, because, one side of the relationship spectrum is avoiding the narcissist, so we know what they look like and what they feel like. But the other side is learning how to detect healthy people based on their behavior, and this is a really good way to start doing that. Okay, and two, that the other benefit it gives your brain is it creates that broader thinking. So then you can see it more and more and feel safer and more secure with that person, and you can trust your judgment, and I use that word specifically, your judgment of the narcissist to be real. So you can get a little more out of crazy land, thinking that you're crazy and they're not, and get back into trusting yourself reliably and deeply and strongly. All right. So that's how we deal with anxious attachment. Okay. And actually with version 3 of Heal that's going to just started development yesterday, I'm going to have be adding a mini course in healing attachment and doing this kind of process along with the addiction to connection stuff. So yeah, watch out for that. And if you're not yet a member of the Thrive All Access Pass, you can go there and join that, or you can get this when you join me for the life facilitation and the Heal mentorship group that starts next week. Okay. Next fun thing we've got here is here. Okay, so Rosalind, she's talking about, she asks a question about internalizing other people's behaviors and choices as a direct reflection of my worth or value. I call this, she has a situation where, you know, she's interacting with someone or she wants to and they ignore her or they stop interacting with you and go treat somebody else differently than the way they were treating her. And this causes what's called an automatic check-in. Did I do something wrong? Do they not like me? Why are they doing that? Am I a problem? Am I worthy? That's a very common check-in, especially for survivors of this kind of abuse, because a narcissist would do that to us. That was a very small example of devalue discard right there. Just like, yeah, I'm going to go treat this person differently. But in reality, the person that's doing that may have a number of reasons that are none of our business and really doesn't matter about our worth. Internalizing our worth is one of our lifelong practices, because it's not something we just choose and then suddenly it's there and it's always there and we don't have to worry about it. Our sense of worth has to be nurtured. It has to be fed, and it has to be kindly addressed, both in action by saying yes to things we want and no to things we don't want, standing up for our boundaries, but also mentally and emotionally. We practice allowing ourselves to feel love for ourselves and be worthwhile, be valued just because I'm sitting here breathing. That's where we start to win, because we have some deep programming about earning worth, and it's back there. It's like, oh, I can be worth by breathing. I'll do that. Oh, being worth, you know, being worthy and internalizing our value is a state of being that really consistently for me does not require me to evaluate my worth, to check in and go, am I worthy? Looking for the worth. No, it doesn't do that. I assume and then I feel it. And I operate and choose from that. And it's something I have to do every day. So when feelings of insecurity or worthlessness show up, I bring love into that place. And I allow that part of myself, that aspect of self, to be connected to, because it's what needs the love. It's what needs kindness. It's what needs to be valued, right? And I also ask for reassurance from others. So I've got a combination of internal and external validation from trusted sources. Our value has to be nurtured. So when we get hit like that, it's okay to sit back and say, wow, maybe, you know, it's normal, in other words, to have that check in and go, am I worth knowing? Because your brain's been programmed that way. So rather than fight it, rather than try to get past it, nurture the need that it's pointing to. Validate, praise, and appreciate your value. And you can do that with a simple affirmation question. And if I could, would I praise and appreciate my value just as I am? Would I love and accept myself just as I am? Would I enjoy myself? Would I like myself just as I am? If I could do that, when would I do that? And if you want to have a fun little experiment, try it with like rather than love. Liking tends to have a bigger impact on people than love does with this kind of thing. So, because it really takes a lot of weight off of us, strangely. So try that. But yeah, internalizing it is a habit. It's normal. When you catch yourself doing it, return that back to them. Return that judgment and say, you know, that's not me. Their value about me is not me. I give that back to them. And now I'm going to bring love back into me. I'm going to check in with myself, be with myself, love and respect myself first. And I'm going to let them do their thing. And then you can help shape your mind towards focusing on what you want to be doing and need to be doing in that moment, rather than focusing on or analyzing them. So that's kind of the trick there with that. So let me know how that works for you. If you've got any other questions on that, Rosalind. Oh, and the last thing we've got here is from Ginger. Ginger. Your friend does not sound much like a friend. Are you happy in that relationship? Is this friendship really working for you? I want you to check in with your body and see if your body's happy with this or not. Her behavior is controlling behavior. That doesn't necessarily, that's not a healthy behavior. So she's probably codependent, and that codependency is showing up through her fixing, controlling behavior, just based on what you described. So I put that little star in there. I'm assuming that, but based on that description. And if she's very rigid and will turn it back on you, does that feel safe? Is that what the kind of friend you want? Is that how they will behave? So this situation you're in is more about what you want and what you need to focus on rather than her behavior. So you can make some decisions there about what you want long-term with that. But, based on what you're describing there, check in, see what you really want there. And if that lines up with what healthy and unhealthy behaviors are, that kind of thing. And then let us know what you do. Okay, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the group. Thank you guys for the referrals. A lot of our growth, the number has stayed about the same. So some people leave, some people come in, but that's normal. But the growth largely has not been anything that I've been doing. It's been because you guys have been referring people, and I really appreciate that. I love the vote of confidence. I love the results that you guys tell me a lot in private chat. I'm getting this result. This is happening. I really love this. And so I'd encourage you, if you're watching this, to share it in the group, because it really adds to the confidence of other people in the group. It helps me help them, basically. But I get it. We like to share them privately because a lot of us are introverts and we want to keep things private and things like that. I get it. So you do what is best for you. But I encourage you to do that if you feel so inclined. Holidays are coming up, so there's going to be a little holiday self-care thingy I'm going to be putting out. I made a post about it earlier today. Guys, holidays are yours. They're not your family's. Go out and do what you want. I haven't spent a holiday in 10 years with my parents because they're so damn toxic. Okay. And they're always like, why don't you come? I'm like, I don't want the toy. I don't even answer them. I don't want the pain. So I spend it with friends. I spend it with my kiddos when I've got them. Or I spend it sometimes with extended family. Sometimes you go to a movie. It's my holiday. I do whatever I want. So we're not committed to the family. Family obligations don't exist. True commitment is always voluntary and it's always consensual. Relationships are a privilege, not a right, and nobody has a right to our time, energy, talents, presence, or being. Okay? So remember, you guys are worth knowing, you're worth loving, and you're worth keeping. And we'll see you next week. Next week's Thursday. So we'll probably do a Q&A on Wednesday. Okay? Because next week, no. We'll be fine next week. I'm living 2 weeks ahead here, so I'm just crazy. Okay, guys, have fun. We'll talk with you soon, and enjoy your weekend. Have fun. Bye-bye.